Is Australia at the point where we are ready for our own version of the PBA? Currently, we only have 5 national ranked events in the Open Division and for the ladies. Juniors and youth have 3, and the seniors have another 4. So let's look at the Open Division. So we've got the Kegel, the Australian Open, the Melbourne Tenpin Cup, the Australian Masters, and the New South Wales Open. So this year, we have 1 in Queensland, 2 in Victoria, 1 in Tasmania, and the last in New South Wales. Our main issue with the ranked events is there just isn't enough of them. I know that other centres in the country have tried to get ranked events at their centres, only to be told no by the TBA with little to no explanation as to why. So we're stuck with 5 events, and the coverage for these events varies greatly, mainly because it's relied on the centres and the promoters themselves running the events. So as a result, we had the Rockway and the Australian Masters and the President's Shield and all of that down in Tasmania, with little to zero coverage from the promoter. The only coverage that any of us really saw were live streams coming from some of the teams themselves and the parents and the kids for the President's Shield, etc. But nothing from the promoter or the centre itself. Nothing from TBA. Like, why? So why not look at an Aussie PBA style association with a national competition? Now, I see this allowing a couple of things. Firstly, as you probably can see where I'm going with this, the association have full run of the competition and the tournament itself, allowing for better marketing and better coverage of these events. This also allows for larger sponsors and greater exposure for the sport itself. Now, if you've got a national tour going through, say, 10 events over the year, that's a larger option for sponsorship to come on board as the whole tour as such, and bring a lot more exposure to the sport and the Aussie bowlers themselves. Now, when the TPL was announced last year, I naively thought that this could have been the answer. Like, this could have in fact started an Aussie national tour of the best bowlers, showcasing good coverage and growing the sport that way. I think we can all agree that didn't live up to our expectations. Now, it's not to say it won't get there in the future, but considering that it's almost the end of July and I'm still yet to hear if it's going ahead for this year, I'm not exactly holding my breath. Plus, the TPL didn't really have any options for other bowlers to qualify for these events. Basically, it was a selection the TBA made, who they wanted to have on the show. That's who we saw, and that's who we're stuck with. Now, if we consider if this had been run like a PBA style event, they could have still had their pre-qualified bowlers that they selected, and they wanted to see, say, these bowlers at this event. They wanted to showcase their NTS squad, etc. But they could have also opened up a qualifying event or regional qualifying events in the same way the PBA does. So you've got your pre-qualified bowlers from previous winners at that event, or title holders and that sort of thing. Plus, you've got those that purely go to the large event to qualify for the event, or they have regional qualifiers out in the regional areas for the larger events as well. That could have been a good way to encourage more people to try out for that sort of level within the country. The other thing that I was most excited about with TPL was just basically the coverage. Like, I wanted to see Aussie bowling showcased within the country outside of just a few live streams done here and there for certain events type thing, with decent commentary and good camera work and that sort of thing. And it just kind of fell short of the mark. Like, if you're going to select a commentator for a sport, it helps if that commentator knows the sport. Whether or not they bowled or not really doesn't matter, but they need to know the sport. If they had selected commentators from within the sport, and I know there are plenty of bowlers who would have commentated for this for sure, they would have known the slang, they would have known the correct terms, they would have known the bowlers' names. Like, they would have known everyone that was on the lanes that day, and there wouldn't have been any mistakes with the names being read out. Or even just what the splits were called. Like, there was a few times that they just said that it was the wrong thing, or they said that someone had picked something up when they hadn't, type of thing. And I feel if the commentators had been better experienced within the sport, that wouldn't have happened, and it would have improved the whole quality of the show. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that they had a go, and I really, really am excited to see if it happens again, how they can change that. But I just think that the planning for it just kind of missed the mark there. If they had really sat down and worked out where they wanted the show to go, they could have got there a whole lot more efficiently with the help of the community itself. Like, everyone within everyone within the sport in the country wants it to grow, and they want to see these sort of things. So why not ask for the help from the community? Like, there's plenty of people that would have commentated a lot better, and it would have made the whole event, like the whole show would have been great. So let's look at the PBA model. So the PBA was modelled after the Professional Golfing Association or Professional Golfing Tour in the States, which is obviously a tried and tested format. It's marketable. They've got massive sponsorship. If you look at what they're paying the in prize fund and that sort of thing compared to other sports, like golf is huge. So that's where PBA kind of started, and they looked at that. They took that. They started the tour, and they've grown to what we see now, basically. So obviously, I don't think that an Aussie equivalent will ever be as big as the PBA, and obviously won't attract as big a sponsorship maybe, but why not have a local homegrown Aussie tour that showcases the best bowlers within Australia, gives a place for those bowlers to improve their tournament abilities, and maybe make the step up from there. Like, there are plenty of youth bowlers in and not in the NTS that are looking at options that they want to get to that PBA eventually. So why not give them somewhere to practice? Like, a national tour within Australia that has those sort of quality of events is only going to improve the sport as a whole within this country and give us better coverage. Like, why not? So what do you think? Are we ready? If one did start, would you join? Would you bowl? What do you say?